Good morning, my name is David Moore, the police chief in Janesville. Over the last 30 days, we've had a convicted sex offender approach a number of children and ask these children to get into his vehicle. This has occurred with 4 different children, 4 different dates, and 4 different locations. All of these incidents were in public areas while the children were on their way to school. The suspect has been arrested for disorderly conduct, and the matter has been referred to the Rock County DA's office. We are also working with the Department of Corrections for any potential sex offender registry violations. The meeting here today is to share with you what we know about this suspect, his vehicle, his residences, and the specific details of the contacts with the children. We believe this person to be a threat to our community and wish to inform citizens of the danger. At this time, I'll turn this over to Lieutenant Terry Sheridan. He can share with you the specifics of the case. Lieutenant Sheridan.
Okay, if you didn't get it already, we have a handout with some details on it for you that I'll be showing here in the PowerPoint. Just going through some information about why we call this press conference and some of the safety concerns and the history around what led us to this point. So as the chief mentioned, we had a series of events where the male suspect in this case, Mr. Daryl Holloway, we had been receiving reports that he was approaching minor females and asking them for rides. Our first report came in on October 30th at 7:50 in the morning. It was a 12-year-old female who reported that a male, who we later identified as Daryl Holloway, approached her as she was walking to school in the area of North Pearl and Ravine Street. Mr. Holloway asked the juvenile female to get into his van. She refused. He followed her down the street until she ended up with a friend. It was subsequently reported to the police department and investigated first by patrol and then by our investigations division, who had spoke with Mr. Holloway. I got to back up. On this particular one, social media, posts were made on social media by concerned parents, including a picture of Mr. Holloway's van. He's seen that post and he actually contacted the police department telling us that he thinks he's the person in question. That's when our officer spoke with him and our detective spoke with him. He said it was him, it was in fact him. He thought the 12-year-old girl was actually 18 or older. He said he admitted talking to her. He was just trying to seek out relationships, companionship, and he did not realize she was a juvenile. At that time, there was not grounds for any type of arrest. We were aware from that point on that he was a convicted sex offender. However, his actions on that day did not violate any laws or the fact that he was a sex offender. Shortly later, on November 10th, we got another report at 6:45 a.m. where a 14-year-old female reported that she was waiting at a bus stop at 208 North Main Street. A male, believed to be Daryl Holloway, driving an older white vehicle, pulled up. Asked her what her name was, asked her if she needed a ride. She had some conversation with him, advising him that she was on her way to school and she did not need his assistance. On the 14th, a similar call came in, this one where a 12-year-old female reported a male believed to be Daryl Holloway approached her as she was walking to school in the area of East Memorial Drive in North Randall. He referred, Mr. Holloway, as he approached, he referred to this 12-year-old female as baby and baby girl. She ignored him, continued walking, which apparently upset him, and he began referring to her with derogatory language. And then lastly, we had our last report involving Mr. Holloway was on November 16th, 7:50 a.m. A 16-year-old female reported an unknown male, later identified as Mr. Holloway, approached her while she was with other children at the Janesville bus terminal waiting for the bus for school. Holloway continued to talk to her and at one point asked her about what school she went to, what grade she was in, and asked her if she wanted a ride. All of the four listed incidents here were all investigated by the Janesville Police Department and assigned to the Detective Bureau. Mr. Holloway was spoken to about each of these incidents, and some he denied that he was there, and others he just maintains that he simply thought these girls were adults and didn't think he was doing anything wrong. In each of the four cases, the juvenile females involved expressed concern up to fear of actually possibly being abducted. In one particular case, the one on Memorial, would have been the one on the 10th, this girl said that she was so afraid when he started asking her questions, she just got a bad feeling about him. She said there was another adult female there at the bus stop with her, and she felt she was so afraid that she thought if that female was not with her, that she may have been abducted and who knows, you know, maybe even everything up to being killed. So he did not threaten her physically, but the feeling she got scared her. All of the girls were very scared of the encounter they had with Mr. Holloway and felt that their safety was in jeopardy. In a couple of the incidents, Mr. Holloway also, as I mentioned, he referred to them as baby and baby girl, told them that they were pretty, and clearly was attempting to speak with them to form some kind of a relationship with them. Although, again, he still maintains that he thought they were adults. This is just a map of where it occurred. On the map there you can see Mr. Holloway is staying at 2818 Rutledge in Janesville. And then as you can see there, it shows the four incidents that we just talked about pinned on the map, so you can see what kind of proximity they occurred at. So, who is Mr. Holloway? It's Daryl Wayne Holloway. He's a 49-year-old male. We see the description there. He's 5'10", 250-pound brown hair, or brown eyes and bald head. With respect to his record, as I mentioned, he is a sex offender. He was convicted in 1985 of second-degree sexual assault and burglary and sentenced to 10 years in prison and 5 years probation. From that conviction, he was labeled as a lifetime sex offender registrant, meaning that he needs to notify the Department of Corrections where he resides, and if he moves, he has 10 days to update that location. That particular case involved the sexual assault, and that particular case involved an adult, not a juvenile. So he does not have any restrictions that he is not allowed to speak with juveniles. So he's a sex offender registrant. He needs to keep his address up to date, but there are no other restrictions concerning that sex offender status. Then in 2017, August, he was charged with burglary, theft of a firearm, prohibited possession of a firearm, and that matter is still pending in Milwaukee County. Now, if we are aware that in the 90s, I believe it was 1992, Mr. Holloway was found guilty of similar charges, sexual assault and burglary. and he was sentenced to prison. That conviction or sentence was later overturned by DNA, proved that he was not guilty of that, so he was released. So if you Google Mr. Holloway, you will see that involved too, but that has nothing to do with his current status as a sex offender, and that's why it's not included in this information. During the 4 incidents that we had, Mr. Holloway was driving this vehicle. It's a 2006 Saturn Relay van. It is registered to him. It's maroon. This is actually the same van. I know it looks probably different, but it's the same van. It's maroon with a silver back door. What we would like the public to know, obviously, is who he is and what he's driving, and the fact that Mr. Holloway told our investigators during their contact with him on these incidents that he was considering painting his vehicle because it seems too recognizable and he didn't want the attention. So it's a possibility he could paint them, but that's how it looks at this time. And then at least in one of the incidents, he drove this vehicle. This is his girlfriend's vehicle. It's a 2005 Chevy Cavalier 2-door. That's not the actual vehicle. We do not have a picture of the actual vehicle, but it's similar. It's white in color, 2-door, and that's the license plate there. Again, Mr. Holloway is residing at 2818 Rutledge in Janesville. That's a picture of the house. Just so there's no confusion, the vehicle in the driveway is unrelated to any of the 4 incidents that we investigated. It was just there when we took a picture of the house. The house belongs to his girlfriend's father, and according to Mr. Holloway and people that we've interviewed at the house, he has been living there for anywhere between 1 to 2 months. The reason I bring that up is because of his sex offender status. He shows up on the Department of Corrections website, sex offender database. If you were to search that, he shows up with an address of 3726 North 6th Street in Milwaukee. It does not show the Janesville address. We have been working together with the Department of Corrections regarding this, and as well as the DA's office, to see if there is a violation of the registry program, whether or not he should have notified them of an address change or not. Mr. Holloway now is saying that he doesn't actually live here in Janesville, that he just visits here. So the investigation into whether or not a violation occurred from the sex offender registry standpoint is still ongoing. Finally, we would like to remind people, the citizens, the community surrounding cities around Janesville, that if they see anything suspicious, if they see these vehicles or Mr. Holloway around the bus stops or around children, we would like to be notified. Our main goal here is to prevent a serious incident from occurring in the future. What Mr. Holloway's actual intent, if he were to get anybody in his van, is, we don't know. All I can tell you is that he maintains he thought they were adults and he's just seeking companionship. But due to his age, 49-year-old man, and the age of the children, ranging from 12 to 16, and the repeated acts, it's raised some red flags here. So this is all an attempt to prevent anything from happening on down the road. So we ask for the public to be aware of it. We feel that it's important that this information is given to them so that they can do what they need to do, also to take extra precautions, and to notify us if they have any concerns. With regard to what we're doing, we're also working with the Janesville School District to give them the information about Mr. Holloway. There has been no incidents at the schools that we're aware of, just to clarify, but because there were juvenile females involved. We will be distributing the information to our Janesville transit system, the bus drivers, so that they're aware of what's going on in case they see Mr. Holloway or his vehicle hanging around the bus stops. He is allowed to be at the bus stops. There's nothing that would prevent him from being there, but we would like to know about it. Backing up a little bit in regards to our investigations, the 4 incidents, I'll just back up to that slide that we showed there. We did make an arrest. Mr. Holloway was arrested for disorderly conduct. That was for the continuing pattern, the fear that he was causing from these children. So he was arrested on November 17th for disorderly conduct. He is not in custody for that. He was given a court date to appear in court at a later time. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Aaron Ellis. He's going to talk about some safety tips and reminders for the public, and then when he's done, we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant Sheridan. I am Aaron Ellis. I'm the Community Service Sergeant for the City of Janesville. I act as the liaison between the police department and the school district. We just want to remind students and parents of some important safety tips. First of all, we want to say that we are committed to the safety of the students along with the school district, and we will further work with them in the upcoming days to notify students, staff, and parents of any updated information that comes with this case and others. First of all, for the students and parents, when walking to school, walk in a group or walk with friends. You have more power as a group. Stick to your planned route that your parents are aware of. Do not change that up. We find that when students change up their route to and from school, they can get themselves in dangerous situations. Be aware of your surroundings. For the students, don't walk with your iPod, earbuds in. Don't be texting on your phone. It's important to be aware of your surroundings. That can cause obvious dangers if you're not. Report any suspicious activity immediately to a trusted adult, to a school staff member, or to your school resource officer. It's important that we are updated on this information as soon as possible. In the case of an emergency, don't be afraid to dial 911. Also remember that you can dial the non-emergency number. You can use our Crime Stoppers line, or all the students are very familiar with our P3 tip software that they have been trained on, they're well aware of. Share that information with your parents when you get home tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we can take any questions that you might have.
Just to double check, he's not on paper at all, he's served all his time?
Yeah, he is not on probation, has no connection through the Department of Corrections other than his sex offender registrant status.
This sheet says that the Cavalier is in 02 and you said 05. Do you know which it is?
Let me take a look. It's 2005, so that's wrong sheet.
And it is white?
Wait, yeah.
What's his court date? Do you have a time and date?
I'll get it to you. I don't have it right off the top.
What's maybe a message that you could send to parents who might be scared or frustrated that this guy's out there, but you guys aren't able to lock him up?
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're having this press conference is, you know, Mr. Holloway has rights as well, just like the rest of us. However, we were concerned with some of these actions, and we know we can't be everywhere all the time, and because of our concern, we wanted to get this information out to the public, because then we have that many more people, we have more eyes out there watching. we can't be effective without their help, and that's one of the main reasons we wanted to get this out there. So to the parents out there who have concerns, have young children, we want them to know that, you know, first of all, we're aware of it. We're working with our community partners, the school district, the JTS, you know, we're getting information out locally, or I'm sorry, around the area as well. And then hopefully that, you know, they can make some arrangements if they want to alter, you know, how their children are going to school. They can do that ahead of time. Nothing serious has happened yet, and that's our goal to prevent that. So with the public's help, we feel that, you know, we'll meet that goal. So.
Is there a person with the, I know that you talked about his registry being under investigation, but is there a person like with the registry's office that is kind of watching? Well, he says he lives in Milwaukee, but people say that he's been living here for months. Is there somebody who monitors that?
There is, yeah. He has to check in through the Department of Corrections. Bob Fugate is his name, and yeah, he's actively working on this case. I spoke with him this morning, as a matter of fact. So he's fully aware of it. He has all of our information, and yeah, he actively monitors that as well. So.
And you said I think you said it's 10 weeks when someone moves that they're supposed to update? I can't remember.
10 days.
It's 10 days, okay.
10 days, yeah. If they move, they have to notify within 10 days, otherwise it is a violation of the law.
Okay. What's your guys' concern that all 4 of these have happened in, what, almost exactly a month, less than a month?
Yeah, it's a big concern. I mean, and that's why we're holding this press conference. This is unusual. I mean, there's a lot of unusual things about this that come together to concern us as an agency, and that we think the public needs to know about. The fact that he is 49 years old and these are very young girls, that it's in, you know, fairly rapid succession here. The fact that 3 of them occurred after we spoke with him on the first one, so he was aware that we were aware of it. We talked to him about that, and he continued to do it. So again, what is his intent on that? I can't say for sure. But it was concerning enough to us that we felt we needed to tell the public about this.
Do you have, do you know if he's employed?
He's unemployed at this point, as far as I know.
That's what he has said?
Yeah. He was previously employed, I believe, at Texas Roadhouse in Janesville.
So now you guys kind of monitor and just see if something happens where you can make an arrest again, or if he crosses that line?
Yeah, I mean, we're not, you know, it's not, like I said, he has rights like the rest of us too. And, you know, it's not, it's something that, you know, we will pay close attention to. We want to know if these continue, certainly. But at the same time, we have to respect what rights he has as well. But we're aware of it. We're not, you know, going to just put this aside and, you know, hope that nothing happens. That won't be effective. So.
Do you recall an incident like this where, you know, 4 different occurrences, same guy?
I'm not aware of
Here and there you hear things, but, you know.
In Janesville, I'm not aware of anything even close to this, no. I mean, we get the occasional suspicious person, somebody pulled up, asked somebody, you know, a child or a young person if they want, or even an adult for that matter, if they want to ride or offer to give them something, but not like this, which, again, raised some additional concerns for us here.
Have you had to counsel parents who are upset about this?
Well, no, I don't believe the public as a whole has any idea until now that there's this many of them. So on an individual, case-by-case basis, we've talked to the children and in most cases the parents, yes. But I don't believe in general the public is aware of, you know, how many of them actually occurred, and they will be now. This is one of the reasons why we invited the school district here. Sergeant Ellis worked closely with the school district as well with his work through the SROs. We anticipate there's going to be a concern, that's something the school district is going to start hearing some concerns, you know, because of this information that we're releasing. So we want to work with them to, you know, help mitigate the public's concerns the best we can. So.
How did you guys kind of balance between wanting to inform the public without kind of scaring a lot of parents right now?
Well, what I would say is, as they started coming in, just like anybody would, it was concerning to begin with. Okay, the very first incident on October 30th, knowing what we knew, that was concerning to us. But did we feel it, you know, was raised to a level that we needed to, you know, possibly cause unnecessary angst amongst the public? We didn't think so. But as they kept progressing, and again, because of the amount of them that we had in such a short time span, the fact that he continued to do it even though he knew that we were aware of it, it heightened our concern to the point where we thought it was time. This was enough that we thought the public needs to know about it. We need help. We need the public's help to keep for eyes and ears. Like I said, we can't be everywhere everywhere all the time. This we felt was an appropriate time to do it. Hopefully before, you know, God forbid, something serious happens. So.
Why, the last incident was the 17th, is that, I'm sorry, 16th?
Yeah.
Why wait, what is it, 2 weeks to mention this pattern to the public?
Well, what happened, there was one, Frank, I'd have to double check in the reports, but I believe it was the one on the 14th was reported, it was belated. So they did not report it to us right away. We got, basically what happened was by the time we put them all together, and we didn't know right away, I guess it wasn't obvious to us right away about the pattern. It took a little bit of time for us to connect the dots on all these as well. So I can tell you that right around on that last one on the 16th is when we realized that these are all related. Also, I can tell you that on 2 of the 4, we did not know, confirmed for sure, that Mr. Holloway was involved. On 1 of the 4, we just found out as recent as yesterday that it was him. At least through a photo lineup, they believed it was him, the victim did. So.
I can tell you this has been an ongoing investigation, and with ongoing investigations, they tend to evolve. The full set of circumstances came to the attention of our administrative staff yesterday morning at about 8 a.m. And by yesterday afternoon, we called this press conference, and we're meeting with you here today. Well, it may look like there's a delay. Really, once the investigation continued and we had that body of information, we're meeting with you almost within 24 hours.
Anything else that you guys want to say to any parents out there who might be watching right now?
Be cautious. If you see suspicious information with respect to this or any issue, give us a call. Let us figure it out. Put that responsibility on us. We're very fortunate. I tend to think of Janesville as being a tight-knit community. And when we share information like this, it tends to get out to the entire community. And we're quite effective with keeping our community safe. You can look at most any standard that you want to with respect to safety in this community, and we are a safe community. Another important piece to this, criminals don't like to be exposed. And I think sharing this information with the community, like Lieutenant Sheridan said, will most probably allow us to not have something more tragic occur. Okay, thanks everybody.